to Parents' Evening Day. I have my phone, only on 12%, so we need to be quick about this, and a delicious cup of coffee, which can only mean one thing. Okay, it could mean a few things, but on this occasion, it means that we're doing a famous and last ever, hopefully, Parents' Evening Q&A. I say last ever, hopefully, because I've just done my last Parents' Evening in this job. The only way there'll ever be another Parents' Evening Q&A is if I have to return to teaching, which, fingers crossed and all that. So let's get straight into the questions. Quite a few came in, and I am very conscious that my phone battery will die at any moment. So, Mr. Liam O'Neill 90. I think I've read your name in the comments so many times, and it's only saying it out loud I realise it's Mr. Liam O'Neill, not Mr. Liamonia or something, whatever I'm reading in my head. Interesting comment reading fact. His question is, have I got any collabs lined up for when I finish being a teacher? I've not got anything specific lined up. There are people I've spoken to about doing things though. I don't want to be too specific about it. Most of them will be fairly obvious. You see on Twitter who I speak to. They're all the ones so far in the Football Manager community. Most of them I've done stuff. In fact, all of them I think I've done stuff with before. Fingers crossed. They'll all be very cool, and stuff should start to appear fairly soon after I leave my job in middle of July. Next question from Alan Wood. Am I planning on bringing back the PS4 games to the gaming channel? He particularly enjoyed the Fallout series, would like more like the Edith Finch series, would like to see me play Everyone's Gone to the Rapture. Yes, they will be coming back. The only reason I'm not doing it though is because I don't have time to record them. I don't know if you can see over there, probably can't. There's an Xbox One in here now as well, so there you go, there's the controller. So it won't just be PS4, there will be Xbox One games appearing on the channel as well. Lots and lots of plans for console gaming and non-Football Manager gaming once we get to July. Off the top of my head, the games I'm planning on playing on the channel, the new Uncharted spin-off game that comes out in the summer, I'll be playing that on the channel. Pro Evolution 2018 and FIFA 18. I'm planning on playing Destiny 2, despite the fact I didn't like Destiny 1, and in a similar vein, the new Call of Duty game, despite the fact I've never liked a Call of Duty game. I'm going to play WWE 2K18, I'm obviously going to do Football Manager 18, Total Extreme Wrestling will be back, and there'll be lots of little one-off indie things that appear from time to time. The Football Manager History series will be back as well, and I have plans for what I can do to make that even more awesome. So yes, there'll be lots of stuff. There'll be retro stuff as well. I've still got the retro pie that I got set up a month or so back now, which is slowly filling up with retro games, so there'll be lots of retro content as well. I have this crazy idea at the moment, because I can't imagine not working like 8 hours a day on this, and I can't see how I can spend more than 3 or 4 hours a day on Football Manager and FIFA content. So the rest of the time it's just going to be filling up the channel with videos. You're going to have to let me know in the comments how many videos per day is too many videos a day. I don't imagine there's going to be anybody who watches everything, but I want it to be something for everyone on the channel. Anna, hopefully, she's got her university interview tomorrow. Fingers crossed, she'll be going back to uni, which means I've got 3 years to try this crazy nonsense, rather than the initial, gotta be making money by Christmas. And if that's the case, then we need to be thinking, right, how do I get to 250,000 subscribers by the end of those 3 years, or 500,000 subscribers? I'm not in the business of, oh, let's try and get to 25,000 within the next 5 years. No, I want to do this full time, I want to do it properly. I want 1 million subscribers in 5 years time, if not more. So there needs to be more than just Football Manager, or even more than just FIFA on the channel. We need to go mainstream. Nicky Wilson has a very loaded question, because I can see in his avatar he's wearing an Arsenal shirt. He wants to know, Kev, you're a Football Manager, what's better, finishing the top 4 or winning the FA Cup? Nicky, don't know how to break this to you. Finishing the top 4 is obviously better than winning the FA Cup, because you get to play in the Champions League. And that's kind of the point, isn't it? It's better financially, it's better because you get to play on a higher stage the next year, you can then attract better players. Winning the FA Cup isn't really any different from winning the EFL Cup or the Checkered Trade Trophy these days. It's just a bit of silverware, it's nice to have, it's a fun day out, you get to go to Wembley. I had all that when Posh won the Johnson's Paint Trophy a few years back. It was loads of fun, but it didn't make any difference in the grand scheme of things. Just like winning the FA Cup doesn't make any difference to the teams who win it, which is why people keep letting Arsenal win it. and it doesn't make any difference. So yeah, top 4 finish, I'm afraid, is much better than winning the FA Cup. Richard Biggs wants to know, do me and Anna have any plans for having kids together, or are there wedding bells in your future? We don't plan to have any kids. No. I'm 34. I had my first daughter when I was 19. I went straight from leaving school to my gap year before I started university to, oh, hang on, perhaps we're not going to university, my girlfriend's pregnant, better marry her. It wasn't quite like that. I'm taking some of the romance out, but you get the idea. I've never had being an adult without children, if you get what I mean. I'm not that that's a bad thing, but age 34, I'm thinking, right, Amy starts secondary school this year, so in like 6 or 7 years time, she's going to be going off to university. By then, hopefully, Lucy and Andy will have sorted something out for themselves as well, whatever that may be. I'm going to be in 8 years time, early to mid 40s. I want to have a little bit of a chance to be a grown-up and be able to just go on holiday when I want to, go to Vegas. Me and Anna have this whole plan for once the kids are grown up and flown the nest, we want to buy a Winnebago and just spend 6 months driving around America and stuff like that. If we were to have a kid now, then that puts stuff like that off the table until I'm like 55, which by then, I mean, my family history, I'll probably be dead or close to it by 55. So I can't, not wanting to be morbid, but no, the kids we've got are awesome, but do we want any more? Absolutely not. The idea terrifies me. We are engaged. We've been engaged nearly as long as we've been together. It's 5 years this year since we got engaged, I think. There's no date set for the wedding, and neither of us are particularly in a rush to make that happen. Every time we think, could this be the time to start planning a wedding? Something that we want to do more comes along. We don't need a bit of paper. We already live together. I already put a ring on it when we got engaged. And at the moment, she'd rather get a degree. I'd rather make a go of this business. So I guess the wedding is off the table for at least the next 3 years. And then we'll see where we are after that. We'll get married one day. Probably in Vegas, when we drive there in a Winnebago when all the kids have moved on. Stacey Ellis wants to know, can I list the consoles, PCs, laptops, Macs I've owned in order since day one? Oh, goodness me. Probably not. I will do my best and I'll try and be brief. I started with a Spectrum, which we bought after Spectrums weren't cool anymore. I'd asked for a computer for Christmas. In fact, I probably had my Game Boy and my NES before the Spectrum, thinking about it. We got the Spectrum in the early 90s. My dad bought it off my uncle with a whole load of games on cassette all ready to go. And we had that for a few years. So I guess it was probably NES, then Game Boy, then Spectrum, then Mega Drive. I'm ignoring the stuff my brother had, but between the two of us we always had both the Sega and the Nintendo consoles, so you can guess from the one I had which one he had. But yeah, I had the Mega Drive, then the N64, then what came next, Dreamcast or GameCube? In fact, I think I went Dreamcast, PC. No, we must have had a family PC between the NES and the Mega Drive, because I started playing Football Manager in like the mid-90s, or Championship Manager as it was. But I didn't get my own PC until after I got my Dreamcast. So I got my Dreamcast when I was in sixth form, then got a PC shortly afterwards, then a GameCube shortly after that, then dropped out of gaming for a little while, got a PS2 about 6 months before the Xbox 360 came out, got an Xbox 360, got a 3DS or a DS or whatever was the thing at the time. I've had several of those, probably on my fourth 3DS or DS incarnation, so they were scattered throughout that. Multiple laptops and PCs in that time, to the point where I would get a new laptop every year and a half. I'd always have a PC on the go, so can't list all of them, that would be crazy. How far did I get? PS2, then Xbox 360, and that's what really got me into gaming as an adult. And then I got a PS3 the day it came out. I got a Wii after the PS3, I think. Did that come out after that? I got a Vita the day it came out. And then since then I've had everything day one. Got a, I don't know what order they were in, Wii U, Xbox One, PS4, I think that might have been the order. And we haven't got a Switch, but I want one. and I got my first Mac about 3 years ago because of Love Film going out of business, and that's a story for another day. Ty Swanky wants to know who's my favourite player from the Football Manager series that isn't a regen. Well, that's kind of like asking who's my favourite real life player, I guess, which would be George Boyd. We've covered that before. I don't know who's real and who's not. They're kind of merged together because I have quite a limited knowledge of real world football. Sometimes I don't even know if they're real or not real. Keith Shorthouse, was he a real player or is he a regen? I don't know, probably a regen. So I need to go older than him. Benteke, Jonathan Benteke, not Christian, or Martel Taylor-Crossdale, or who else was good in that team? I can't even remember. The whole of the Southend team, they were mostly real players, I think. Ray Coates wants to know why is Mature Gamer Podcast not on my gaming channel where it will get more exposed and more views. I think he means my channel, not the MGP channel. It's on the MGP channel because we tried putting it on Lelujo, on the gaming channel, and it got thumbs down so much people just didn't care. No one watched it for a start, and those that did gave it a thumbs down. So there's no video content to it, it's just an audio podcast. It's between an hour and 2 hours long every week. It just didn't seem to fit, people didn't care. So it's got its own channel. The MGP channel existed before my own channels did, so it just lives on there. If people really want to find it, they can find it. Mr. Ribu wants to know which of the superhero films is my favourite. Oh. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 that I saw last week takes some beating, as does Wonder Woman. The two, they seem to just keep getting better and better. The whole Batman trilogy from a few years ago was really good. I don't know that it was as good as either of those two I've just mentioned though. I really like the Spider-Man ones from like the early 2000s with Tobey Maguire. They were really cool. Spider-Man 2 possibly, was that the really, really good one? Can't think of the Avengers films are good. I love them all. They're all brilliant. I can't read the only ones, it does make me a bit of a monster. The ones that I find least exciting to watch are the Captain America ones. And I know people rave about how good the Captain America movies are, but I just don't like Captain America as a character, and the movies just, they're not really my bag. So the first one particularly, so boring. But no, just pretty much if it's got a superhero, it's certainly a big mainstream Marvel or DC superhero, I'm probably going to like it. Deadpool obviously was a really, really good one. Yeah, they're basically the only movies I watch, so I like them all. The Milk Guzzler wants to know, do my students know I do YouTube, and if so, what do they think of it? Yes, they do. I didn't tell them, but they all know. I mean, it's not hard to find. I think they think it's cool. There's probably loads of them watching now who can tell you that they think I'm a weird old man. But no, I think they think it's cool. Earlier today, this is a cool thing that happened today, DC Comics, the actual real DC Comics Facebook page that has like 4 million people liking it, shared one of my videos on their Facebook page. It was the DC Mystery Box unboxing from Comic Con. They contacted me earlier in the week, asked me to edit it down to just that, put it on my Facebook page so they could share it. They did exactly that, and I got so excited, and I'm still really excited. I don't even know why I didn't open with that. I was so excited that I just put it on. I have my year 11s with me we talk about YouTube and gaming and stuff all the time because they're old enough, they know what it's all about. And I showed them it on the page and they said, yeah, actually that's pretty cool. You've been shared by this massive company who I obviously think are brilliant, and they've got loads of followers, and it is really cool. And yeah, I think generally they laugh a little bit. When they see me do stupid things on the internet, they have a little giggle and probably think I'm a loser, but on the whole, I think it's pretty cool. And I do like wandering around the place knowing that chances are I'm the only teacher they've ever had or ever will have who's got like over 1 million views on YouTube, has had an Amazon #1, has had an iTunes #1. That threesome of things, I think that's pretty cool for a teacher. I would have liked to have a teacher who did all that. So none of them ever tell me to my face that it's stupid. So if it happens behind my back, who cares? Kirups wants to know, would I ever do football vlogs when the season starts, like match day vlog type things? Probably not. purely because I don't go often enough anymore. I probably went to 2 or 3 matches throughout the whole of last season, so I don't know if it's something that's an interesting thing for people to see 2 or 3 times a year. One thing that is a potentially interesting development for the channel though, and it's massively early days, and I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about it yet, but the Posh Match Day announcer has left, and they've put like an open call out for people to apply for it. And I've applied to become the Posh Match Day announcer. There's an audition process and stuff, so we're still at the stage where I don't even know if I'm getting an audition yet, but I just contacted them and said, look, I do all this stuff on YouTube, I do podcasts, I've been a Posh fan for like 25 years, I think I'd do quite a good job of it, I'd like you to consider me. They were fairly positive with the reply and said, yeah, they'll get in touch when the auditions start. If I get to the point where I'm the Posh Match Day announcer, you can bet your I will do as much vlogging as they let me do, and again, I don't know if they'll let me do any, but surely if they give the job to the YouTube guy, that's the sales pitch I've used with them to get this far. So I would assume that if they give the job to the YouTube guy, it's because they want some synergy between my audience and theirs, and there could be some really cool stuff that comes out of that. But obviously we're about 10 steps away from even an audition, so the chances of it happening are still really small. If it does happen though, it will be really cool, and yeah, we'll do some vlogging of that. And that was the final question. So I'm gonna run away immediately now and start editing. I don't know why I'm sitting up. What's this about? I need to go and get this edited. There you go, future Kev, figure this one out. It's 17.5 minutes long at the moment. We need to cut that in half. This is too long for a Q&A. Fix it, future Kev, while I sit here and enjoy this delicious coffee that we both know is gonna keep you up past midnight.